If someone made you feel like the main character of their entire life within the first 2 weeks, that wasn't romance moving fast. That was a tactic, and it has a name. You know the feeling. Constant texting, big declarations early. I've never felt this way about anyone. A relationship that goes from stranger to soulmate in 3 weeks flat. Good morning texts before you're even out of bed. Future, talk in week 2. Trips you'll take together, where you'll live, what your kids might look like. It feels like finally being chosen. It feels like the story you were promised. And then, right around the point you're fully invested, something flips. The same intensity that used to feel like love starts getting used as leverage. The calls that used to come every night start coming every third night, and somehow that feels like your fault. By the time you notice, you're already asking what you did wrong. That flip isn't bad luck. It's the second half of a two-part tactic. The mechanism. Love bombing is a real, studied pattern. Researchers who study coercive relationships describe it as an intensity-based bonding tactic, where excessive affection and attention are used specifically to accelerate emotional dependence before a person has had time to actually evaluate the relationship. It's worth saying clearly, this isn't the same thing as a whirlwind romance that happens to work out. The difference isn't speed alone, it's what the speed is doing. Building a real connection faster than usual versus using intensity to bypass your judgment altogether. The goal isn't affection for its own sake. The goal is speed. Get you attached before your judgment has caught up. Here are 3 signs it's happening to you right now. Sign 1. The pace is the point. In a normal relationship, trust and intensity build roughly together. You open up more as you learn someone is safe to open up to. In love bombing, intensity outruns information. You'll know their future plans, their family history, their wounds, before you know how they handle a disagreement. That's not depth. That's volume. Ask yourself what you actually know about this person that isn't a feeling or a plan. Do you know how they act when they're tired, when they lose an argument, when a waiter gets their order wrong? If the answer is no, and it's already been a month of soulmate language, that gap is the tell. If you feel like you know everything about someone's heart, but almost nothing about how they behave under stress, the pace itself is the red flag, not any single thing they've said. Sign 2. The affection has an audience. Grand gestures aren't inherently manipulative. The difference is who they're for. Genuine affection tends to happen whether or not anyone's watching. A quiet text, a small remembered detail, help with something boring like moving boxes. Love bombing skews public and performative. The surprise delivered to your office in front of coworkers. The caption-worthy declaration posted before it's even been said to your face. The gift that's easy to screenshot and hard to actually use. Some relationship researchers note this isn't accidental. Gestures built for an audience serve a second function beyond making you feel special. They make it socially harder for you to question the relationship later, because your friends already saw the proof it was real. And questioning it now means questioning something they already congratulated you on. Sign 3. Withdrawal starts to feel like punishment. This is the sign most people miss, because it doesn't show up in the bombing phase. It shows up right after, and it's the part that makes the whole tactic work. Once you're attached, the same person who was constantly present starts to go quiet, unpredictably. Not permanently, just enough to make you anxious. Texts that used to get answered in minutes now sit for hours, with no explanation offered and none asked for. And when they come back, the relief you feel gets mistaken for the relationship being good, when what actually happened is that you got attached to the swing itself. Intensity, then withdrawal, then relief, on repeat. Behavioral researchers have compared this rhythm to intermittent reinforcement, the same unpredictable reward pattern that makes slot machines addictive, because unpredictable reward is stickier than consistent reward. The version of them you fell for in week 1 doesn't fully disappear. It just becomes something you have to wait for and earn, instead of something you were simply given. If you're nodding at more than one of these, the timeline that outran the trust, the affection built for witnesses, the anxiety when they go quiet, that's not you being too much. That's the tactic landing exactly as designed. The turn and reveal. Here's what most explainers leave out. Love bombing isn't only a red flag partner problem. The same three signs show up in cult recruitment, in some multi-level marketing onboarding, and in high-control workplace cultures, anywhere someone needs your commitment to outrun your judgment. Researchers who study high-control groups have documented near-identical onboarding patterns. Overwhelming welcome and attention in the first weeks, public displays of belonging designed to be witnessed by other members, and a subtle withdrawal of warmth reserved for anyone who starts asking questions. The mechanism is the same because the goal is the same. Attach the person before they've evaluated the thing they're attaching to. That's the part that should reframe how you think about this. It's not really a watch out for bad romantic partners lesson. It's a pattern recognition skill, because the version that shows up in dating is the same shape as the version that can show up in a friend group, a job, or an online community that suddenly needed you fully committed before you'd had time to see how it actually treats people who push back. And once you see the shape, you start noticing how often moving fast gets sold to us as a compliment instead of a risk factor. A job offering an unusually fast promotion track before you've seen how they treat underperformers. A friend group that makes you an inner circle member within weeks before you've seen how they talk about people who leave. None of these are automatically dangerous, but all of them share the same structural feature as the dating version. Commitment requested before evaluation is possible. That's the thing worth training yourself to notice, regardless of what kind of relationship it's wrapped in. Protection and payoff. You don't need to distrust every fast, intense connection. Some relationships genuinely do move quickly and stay healthy. What you're protecting is your evaluation window, not your capacity for romance. Give information and trust time to catch up to intensity on purpose. If someone already knows your whole emotional history in week 2, that's not a reason to panic. It's a reason to slow down what you share next, so trust has a chance to earn its way to that depth instead of being handed it. Watch how someone behaves when there's no audience. Not the public gesture, the private moment right after. Consistency without witnesses is one of the more reliable signals that affection is genuine rather than performative. And notice your own relief reflex. If someone's return after silence feels like the best part of the relationship, that's worth naming out loud to yourself. Not as a reason to leave, necessarily, but as a signal to ask whether you're responding to them or to the pattern of losing and regaining their attention. Finally, keep at least one person outside the relationship in the loop early, before things speed up: a friend, a sibling, anyone who isn't inside the intensity with you. Not to report back to, just to have one perspective in your life that isn't being managed by the same person managing the pace. That outside view is often the first thing to notice the pattern, precisely because it isn't getting the good morning texts. So love bombing doesn't feel like a manipulation tactic while it's happening. It feels like finally being chosen. That's not a flaw in your judgment. It's the tactic working exactly as designed, on a system, trust building alongside intensity, that most people never learn to check for on purpose. The pace outrunning the information, the affection with an audience, the relief when they come back after going quiet. None of those three, on their own, means something's wrong. Plenty of healthy relationships have one fast moment or one grand gesture. It's all three together, early, and repeating. That's the pattern worth paying attention to. Not any single romantic gesture you're now going to overanalyze after watching this. Which of these three hit closest to home for you? Tell me in the comments, and subscribe. We break down a pattern like this every week.